As a police officer, you expect the criticism of society. But when your own child questions whether or not you go about your occupation with malicious intent towards minorities, you come to understand the vanity that is pride of the shield. My son's 8th birthday party was celebrated at Ellisboro City Park on the 22nd of July, with most all immediate family and buddies from school. And I was working my shift, unfortunately, but I had been given permission to stop by briefly and join the festivities. My boy's face brightened up as soon as I pulled up in the gravel path, with blue lights and quick blurts from the siren. His friends, however, were not so enthused. I caught the word pig as I exited my '03 Impala S9 police cruiser, making my decision for a short visit the obvious choice, though I was not going to deny myself a hug from my little man, nor the pleasure of kissing my high school sweetheart and wife of 12 years. I have genuinely risked my life trying to keep this city safe for these little snots to grow up in, and I had taken the life of a young man. Who almost made it through the doors of the very school they attended, and because of his complexion, I was accused of a hate crime. It was almost the same setup as others like me. His hands were empty, but was in the process of filling them. Yet, running that explanation through my head, I can't understand the accusations against me. Quick logic is only understood by those who understand sudden threats of mortality. You blink once, the world is against you. "Hey, Dad," called Jake as I stepped into the pavilion. The candles were lit, and I had apparently interrupted his birthday song, but our baby didn't seem to mind. Despite his inquiries a week ago, I still seemed to be his hero. "Hey, Snakebite," I called back. "Happy birthday." His freckled cheeks raised up with a gopher smile. With his red hair, he greatly resembled the Mad Magazine kid. Standing behind him was my wife, Frenchie. She looked great considering her exhausted countenance, and her warm smile made me anxious for more than just her signature peck on my cheek. The baby blue sundress fitted her slim figure perfectly, and her shimmering hair slinked down to her back and all the way to her waist. She made a humorous sigh of weariness when I made eye contact. It's never said enough by the unfair sex. And it must be hard being a woman. My mother leaned in from across the table. "Blow out your candles and make a wish, Jake." He did. It wouldn't come true. Here in this happy moment, my mind was free. I had no worries about our rent, our bills. Even the glares of Jake's peers became trivial. The boy was happy. My woman loved me. As everyone knows, such things do not last. But what everyone doesn't know are the forces that seem to work against such jovial times. Returning to the station with a cheerful expression and a past of good work ethics earned me the right to take off early so that I could drive my son home in the cruiser. I made a detour through my old neighborhood where I grew up. It was a poor dwelling, ridden with poverty, but with infinite wisdom, I explained to my son the reasons for my position as an enforcer of the law. In places like these, people just like myself try to develop their lives with the world against them. My neighbors were black. My best friend in school was Hispanic. My girlfriend was, well, foreign. But we all had to struggle to keep our morals intact as the temptation to submit to our darker nature appeared before us every day. There are many things I couldn't tell Jake about and Frenchie's first baby, my drug running through the alleys of Wendell and Maine, the morning I awoke to a corpse outside my window of a young man escaping from a gang dispute. There was a darkness here, and much worse, which we both discovered at a stop sign, when the glass burst around us. My son screamed, his hands reached in for him. I tried to fight and tried to drive forward and run over whoever our attackers were. But before I could take any action, sharp pain hit the left side of my neck and I fell into blackness. I would be found 2 days later, walling in the street as I carried the remains of Jake, whom, according to the autopsy, had been eaten alive. Finding Waldo, Part 2. Frenchie was ecstasy for all 5 of my senses. I lusted over her, as I believe a man should over his wife. Keeps him faithful and loyal, like a pinned-up dog in heat. Her luscious eyes would stare at me from across the gym as she sat with all her fellow cheerleaders during basketball practice. She made me feel wanted, prized. We were very young when we became intimate. I had no idea what we were doing, so it honestly wasn't much of a surprise when she told me of her pregnancy. still remember the moment when I held her in my arms and told her that we would face this together, that we would figure out how to be parents. Though she was only 16, I a year older. But she was inconsolable. Her parents didn't know, and they couldn't know. The shame of it all was too much for her to bear, and the eyes of her mother and father could not divert from the pride which they felt for her. More than likely, they would return to Europe, seeing how there were only dogs in America, dogs who only know how to defile the daughters of France. Something had to be done. It would have to be aborted, but neither of us had the money, or any knowledge of where to find a doctor who would do it for that matter. The longer we spoke about it, the more frantic she became. "Hit me," she cried, not once beautiful, but now wretched voice. Her accent seemed to fade into that of a squawking old maid. "Hit me hard. Kill it. I won't be angry. I won't tell anyone. Hit me in the belly. Maybe it'll die." I backed away from her, distressed at the sudden change that had come over her. Esma Jocelyn had always been sweet-hearted and pure. Now she'd become cold and remorseless. "Frenchie," I said, "I'm not going to hit you. We will figure something out, okay? Someone can help us. I'll stand by you if your parents must know. I'll take the blame for it." Frenchie's eyes became wide with fierce anger. "No, they can't find out. They can't know what I did. They'll never forgive me. They will look at me like I'm a dirty whore for the rest of my life. You have to do it. You have to." In my entire life, I had never had a decision before me like this. Lose everything or lose myself. It's true, I wasn't a great kid. I was currently involved in some minor distribution of cheap highs. Had some close call with potential arrests. But I wanted to change myself for her, for my girl, who stood before me, running makeup and ever pouring tears, begging me to hit her in the stomach and hopefully kill the life inside her womb. I wanted her. I wanted this child, though now wasn't the most opportune of times. I wanted a future with Frenchie, where she would never have to cry like this again. "If you won't help me, I will leave you." Then again, "I mean it. If you don't kill this thing inside me, I will never want to see you again." Nothing can stop tears from falling, or terrible decisions from being made. Frenchie went home with a blackish, purple bruise. The next day, she told me nothing had happened, so did it again. At the end of the week, however, she came to me, with moistened green corneas, and was dead. 3 months after Jake's death, Frenchie left me and returned to live with her parents. I was now alone, which is what I asked for. She would have stayed with me. She said she wanted to move on together, but we could try for another child. She was right. It was what I wanted as well. Frenchie was my life. I was her slave, but I couldn't live with another one of my children's blood on my hands. Frenchie cried on our couch, asking if it was because of what she made me do those many years ago, if that was the reason why she had to leave. I picked her up and took her to bed. I made love to her one last time. These things that have murdered my son know me very well. They knew my love for Jake. They know my love for Frenchie. She's not safe with me and cannot come down with me into the sewers, which is their dwelling place. I'm afraid to do this alone, but I have no choice. But the paper cut out of Waldo beneath the windshield wiper let me know how close my investigation have brought me to the truth, and the whispers I hear from the drains as I walk down the sidewalks of Ellisboro reveal a malicious intent on my life. I must face them alone.